Gaza. According to Egypt, the summit aims to end the war in Gaza Strip, enhance efforts to bring peace and stability to the Middle East, and usher in a new phase of regional security and stability. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron has reacted. Let's listen into what he has said.
Dans ce moment-là, la France est regardée. Et le message qu'elle doit apporter, c'est un message de stabilité et de force. Et dans le même temps, on a tous nos compatriotes qui pensent à leur quotidien, à l'éducation de leurs enfants, à leur santé, à la sécurité, à leur pouvoir d'achat, le fait que leur travail paye. C'est ça le devoir du gouvernement et le devoir de l'Assemblée qui a été élue il y a à peine plus d'un an, largement par toutes les Françaises et les Français. Et donc le devoir de tous, c'est d'œuvrer à la stabilité. C'est pas de faire des paris sur l'instabilité. Et puis sur les questions de gouvernance, nous allons avoir un rôle tout particulier pour être aux côtés de l'autorité palestinienne et veiller à ce qu'elle ait sa part, mais aussi qu'elle fasse ses réformes pour le jour d'après. Et à cet égard, le plan de paix que nous avons mis en place, les échanges qu'on a eus avec le président Abbas, à la fois le prince héritier Premier ministre, Ben Salman et moi-même, sont des éléments importants que nous allons suivre.
Now we go back to our guest discussion with Daniel Wagner. He's a CEO of Country Risk Solutions, and Sol Sadka. He's a security analyst and author. Thank you to both our guests for staying with us. First, I would like to go back to Daniel. Daniel, if you can tell us moving on, what do you think, what role will Europe or France will be playing in terms of the peacekeeping in Israel and Gaza?
I wouldn't be surprised if they contribute some troops to the multilateral peacekeeping force. But more to the point, they're going to be important, I would have thought, in contributing funds to the reconstruction of Gaza. And on that subject, this is going to be a decade-long enterprise, assuming that there's sufficient funding to support it. Anyone who has seen the pictures understands that Gaza has been completely decimated over the last 2 years. And it's in essence starting from scratch in almost every respect. That implies hundreds of billions of dollars of reconstruction funds. I find myself wondering where that money is going to come from. It's clearly likely to come from the wealthy Middle Eastern countries. The question is, how much are they willing to step up to the plate? I don't think it's the Europeans who are going to be providing most of that funding.
Thank you, Daniel, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next story as well. Now, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Egypt ahead of a high-stakes summit aimed at building conditions for lasting peace in Gaza. Keir Starmer has said that the UK is ready to help monitor the ceasefire in Gaza and support efforts to decommission Hamas's weaponry and capabilities within the enclave. The summit in Sharm El-Sheikh will bring together over 20 world leaders to discuss next steps under US President Donald Trump's 20-point plan for securing a lasting peace following 2 years of devastating conflict. Let's listen into what British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani has said.
Start by saying this is a truly historic day. And alongside our congratulations to President Trump, to Egypt and Turkey, I want to extend our thanks and congratulations to you and Qatar and you personally, because you played a huge part in this, which is so important for the region and for the world. And you did so in really difficult circumstances, particularly after the attack in Doha. And it was inspiring to see the way in which you personally stepped up after that attack to say you will not let go of diplomacy, and that has helped us get to this place today. And to see today hostages being released, see aid getting into Gaza, is, I think, what the world has been longing for a very long time.
Well, thank you very much, Prime Minister. It's an honor to see you today. As you mentioned, this is a historic day. It's very important. I think it's very important to follow up on all those agreements, and I want to thank you and for your leadership, especially when it comes to recognition of Palestinian state. I think we all recognize and understand that the only way going forward for a peaceful not only region, world, is to have a Palestinian state. This is what we should be working on now. Of course, we're very happy to see that the war stopped and hostages going back to their families, and also aid is being delivered to Gaza. But we all understand this. This is also still very fragile. We need to keep on following every moment. And
now we go back to our guest discussion with Daniel Wagner and Sol Sadka. Sol, I would like to come back to you and ask your analysis on what do you think, what will be Europe's role moving forward in this region?
I don't see much of a role for Europe at this time in this region on account of the fact that they really have their own problems. They have to arm themselves again against the oncoming Russian threat. Trump has told them that they are welcome to buy American weapons and give them to Ukraine, but that Europe has to be the ones who deal with Russia because he wants to be able to pivot to China, which is why also he was clearly keen on bringing some kind of peace to the Middle East, whatever form that takes, because he needs the Americans to be focusing on China. And at the same time, over the past couple of months, the Europeans, with the encouragement of Qatar in particular, have been putting out various recognitions of Palestinian statehood and so on, that has essentially taken away any leverage that they might have had. They no longer have the stick that they used to have against Israel of the threat of that, because they've already used it, and effectively it doesn't particularly mean anything, as it turns out. So most likely they will have minimal involvement. It seems from what Trump said today in the Israeli parliament that he already has Arab donors who are willing to put down money, and that's probably what's going to come out of them in the next 24 hours, I assume, some kind of Gaza rebuilding plan with a laid out financial backing. But as Daniel correctly noted, the amount of damage is so vast. The UN themselves have argued that just clearing the rubble is a 20-year process. And that's not even taking account of the fact that the rubble is not regular construction rubble. It is rubble laced with explosives as well as human remains. It's very dangerous stuff to work with. So the rebuilding of Gaza is going to be a very long process. However, the Arab states have absolutely no problem financially to do that. Qatar, for example, spent $300 billion to host the World Cup for 3 weeks, which is $1 million for every citizen of Qatar. So to fix up Gaza, in theory, $100,000 per person should be quite sufficient, and Qatar could pay for that for less than it paid for hosting the World Cup a few years ago.
Yes, with that, I would like to thank both our guests, Daniel Wagner, for joining us from Portland, and Sol Sadka for joining us from Tel Aviv and staying with us and sharing your perspective throughout this topic. Thank you. Now, this is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world.